Kia ora koutou, ko Julie Hill tōku ingoa. My essay in this cool collection is called Splashed by Spray, How and Why a Local Tree Left Home and Went on an Overseas Adventure. And I was inspired to write it when I was walking along with my sister in northern Portugal last year. And we were distracted on the one hand by the fact that there were lots of kind of nearly naked people sunbathing, even though it wasn't really a very warm day. And on the other hand, by the fact that there was kind of a big row of pohutakawa trees along the coastline. And so, yeah, it was just this kind of jarring sensation of seeing something so familiar in a different context. And and I guess I was always also thinking a lot about being something of an imported species myself in Aotearoa as a Pākehā, and the fact that when I grew up, I learned very, very little about our history here and very little about Te Ao Māori. That's what I was thinking about, so here we go. I went to school in the 1980s, a scrappy, neon-coloured hot mess of a time, when girls said they could do anything, though it wasn't really true, when you couldn't use the family car on certain days, and when new inventions included VHS players and microwaves and Walkmans. There was Pacific reggae, an alternative dirge rock, and Sharon O'Neill in skin-tight leather, singing about a prostitute, and a pair of yodeling identical twins. There were land disputes, nuclear testing, French terrorism, violent anti-apartheid protests. All the films that came out of us were bleak, cynical, and moody. Naida Glavish nearly lost her job by saying kia ora on the phone, but then became a legend. Kerry Hume won the Booker Prize with The Bone People, which was violent and devastating and had recipes in it. It seemed like nearly everyone was lesbian. As a Pākehā kid with Celtic heritage, I felt safe in the presumption that our guys couldn't have been the baddies, because the English had done them dirty too, which wasn't true at all. At primary school, we learned poi and the Māori version of Run, Rabbit, Run, which I thought for a long time was an ancient waiata, as opposed to an ominous predictor of World War II, penned by two Brits. I wrote a school report called The Maoris, pluralised, no Macron, which to my relief, when I found it later, wasn't super racist, and actually quite informative, though it did give the impression Māori had already gone extinct. At high school, we learned about Henry VIII and Kristallnacht, though it was never clear what any of it had to do with us. I hadn't a clue that plenty of bloody wars had taken place here too. In our form class, there was a picture of George Michael from Wham getting a piggyback from the other guy. They were both wearing white singlets and tight white shorts. At the time, we thought George liked girls, but thinking back on that poster, even for Catholic girls, that seems pretty deluded. I didn't know that the thing I called a Christmas tree, because it flowers bang on Christmas, already had a name. I didn't know about Tāwhaki, who climbed a pohutakawa to ask the gods for help with avenging his father's death, but who fell to his death, creating red flowers with his blood. I had no idea that the second star of Matariki is called pohutakawa, and that she is a conduit between the living and the dead. And it was only a few summers ago that I saw with my own eyes the lone pohutakawa of Cape Reinga, which clings to a rocky ledge, and from whose roots all souls eventually descend as they enter the underworld. I didn't know any of these stories. I didn't learn any tikanga of the place I was living in. I only knew about faraway characters like Father Christmas and the Virgin Mary, and I worried a lot about what would happen when I finally got to Judgment Day.